Kyiv under attack as Russia closes in on the capital. Fire breaks out as government officials confirm active fighting has hit the streets. Ukrainian soldiers swarmed the city as the threat drew closer, lying in wait, guns drawn. Residents filming Russian tanks rolling in, this one driving directly into a car, crushing it. Miraculously, the man inside survived. The assault intensifying. With no location off limits. A cancer centre coming under fire in the southeastern city of Melitopol. Ordinary people caught in the crosshairs of war. Ukraine launching a rocket at this school in the pro-Russian town of Holivka, killing its headmaster and geography teacher. But as the country's army battles the enemy, its citizens are grabbing guns. Men aged between 18 and 60 banned from leaving, forced to stay and fight. President Volodymyr Zelensky posting this late-night video from the streets of Kyiv, saying we are all here defending our independence, with a grim warning of what was to come. This night will be harder than the day, he says. They are going to storm. Ukraine's destiny is being decided right now. Former President Petro Poroshenko arming himself while live on TV.
This is the short Kalashnikov. Normal, ordinary people, sometimes never been in the army, staying in line now to join us.
How long do you think you can hold out?
Forever.
The fight back seeing Vladimir Putin urge Ukrainian soldiers to overthrow the government, saying take power into your own hands. Women too are taking up the fight. This woman confronting a Russian soldier on the streets, yelling, take these seeds so sunflowers grow here when you die. Tens of thousands of others not taking their chances, taking their children to the borders.
Where are you going? Where will you go?
Poland.
Your husband, where is he?
Ukraine.
There is no possibility for men to leave. So we need to decide. I have a 5-year-old kid, and I have also my sister who has 2 kids. So we are really scared and don't know what will happen here.
This woman in tears saying it's unfortunate we got here in our old age, facing a war. This American expat chose to walk for 20 hours to Poland after all the trains were booked and no cars available.
On the way, the number of refugees began to pick up. A number of cars were stopped on the road. They had run out of petrol. Their drivers had abandoned them, and their families that had occupied them were carrying all their things in their hands.
In Kyiv, the rush to get out resulted in a crowd crush at Central Railway Station. Guards firing warning shots to stop a stampede. Despite the mass exodus of Ukrainians, those who have decided to stay here in Kyiv are seeking shelter wherever they can. We're here in this underground car park that doubles as a bunker, where people have spent the night here sleeping in cars or on chairs. Australian man Sean Kello is among them.
It's just a crazy situation. I mean, what is the point of it? Nobody knows. Yeah, everybody's concerned, everybody's worried. Now we're just reassessing the situation and organising a way to drive out to probably Western Ukraine, eventually to Poland or Romania or somewhere.
Underground metro stations in the capital remain makeshift shelters. People try to get some sleep, and a brief moment of happiness, a baby is born as war goes on up above.
Russia's military power far outweighs Ukraine's capabilities, and while the attack has continued on 4 fronts, the capital Kyiv has been the clear target in the last 24 hours. Russia claims to have control of a strategic airfield just outside Kyiv, the Chernobyl nuclear site, and has circled the city of Konotop in the north. And Russian forces are closing in on the city of Kyiv itself, moving in from the northwest and the east. The city of Kharkiv, just near the Russian border, border is gradually being surrounded, while to the south, Russia has made some big territorial gains just over the border from Crimea. And an amphibious assault has been launched by Russia from the Sea of Azov in an effort to further cut off the Donbass region in East Ukraine. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation, already had thousands of troops in Poland, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. And in response to Russia's invasion, NATO is activating its response force, beefing up defences across Ukraine's neighbours on the eastern flank of the alliance. Member countries will continue to supply weapons to Ukraine, but not boots on the ground. NATO, which includes the US, says it will not engage against Russia unless a member nation is attacked. Georgie.
Thank. A show of solidarity on the streets of Tbilisi. Georgia's people know all too well how a Russian occupation feels.
Georgia stands with Ukraine and Russia is our enemy too.
Memories of Russia's 2008 incursion still painfully fresh. The European Union, the first to fire off a personal sanction on Vladimir Putin, the bloc unanimously voting to freeze the property and bank accounts of the Russian president. Only two other world leaders share this dishonour.
Assad from Syria, Lukashenko from Belarus, and now Putin from Russia.
After a 40-minute phone call between President Biden and Ukrainian President Zelensky, the US followed suit.
The United States will join them in sanctioning President Putin and Foreign Minister Lavrov.
President Putin is a pariah on the world stage. His economy will suffer.
Sanctioning Putin, a rare step and a symbolic one, but with mystery surrounding the Russian leader's wealth, it's unclear whether this move will have any real impact.
Why doesn't President Biden want to talk to Vladimir Putin right now?
Because he's invading a sovereign country.
NATO leaders gathering in person and online for an emergency summit, deciding to activate, for the first time in history, their response force. Significantly bolstering air, land and water defences along the eastern flank, British troops with tanks and trucks seen heading to Estonia to support forces there.
We call on Russia to stop this senseless war. Immediately cease its assaults, withdraw all its forces from Ukraine.
Putin's actions are leading to complete isolation.
The British Prime Minister appealing to Russians in their own language.
And to my Russian friends, я не верю, что эта война от вашего имени.
At a meeting of the UN Security Council, the Ukraine ambassador called for a moment of reflection.
Let us spend a moment in a complete silence.
But couldn't get it. Kazakhstan, one of Russia's closest allies and neighbours, has denied a request to send its troops to join the offensive, and it's not just world leaders slamming the door on Russia. Formula One cancelling this year's Russian Grand Prix, UEFA taking away the Champions League final from Putin's hometown, Man United pulling Russian airline Aeroflot's sponsorship rights, and Russian tennis star Andrei Rublev spelling it out after his Dubai semi-final victory.
Well, he might just have a message, Andrei Rublev.
And the contest where geopolitics is always centre stage, Russia, now banned from Eurovision. At the White House, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
The pain is etched on their faces. Outside the Russian embassy in Canberra, it echoes in their voices. Speaking in Russian, this Ukrainian says when your soldiers step on Ukrainian soil, the ground under their feet will be on fire. The Australian government says it's heard the words of Ukrainians worried about family back home.
We share their very deep concerns and their fears.
The minister announcing further restrictions on Moscow targeting 8 Russian oligarchs with links to President Putin, sanctions for 339 members of the Russian parliament and extending sanctions to the Belarusian government, intending to follow the US, UK and Canada with personal sanctions on Russia's foreign minister and President Vladimir Putin.
He has lied. He has deceived.
President Putin's actions are a blatant violation of international law.
The government wants to see Moscow criticised by Beijing, calling on China to support a UN vote condemning President Putin. They didn't.
Russia's legitimate security aspirations should be given attention and addressed
properly.
Beijing's taken offence at this.
You don't go and throw a lifeline to Russia.
A remark from the Prime Minister directed at the Chinese government. Beijing accusing Scott Morrison of spreading false information. Such irresponsible behaviour is despicable, the Foreign Ministry spokesperson said. But it's the alliance of Russia and China, the Australian government says, is unholy. And while it's watching China's response closely, the Morrison government is leaving the door open to expelling a Russian diplomat. But keeping diplomatic channels open is also important, with a war being waged half a world away. For some, it's close to home. Hand on heart, they sing, Ukraine is not yet lost. Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
As explosions rocked Kyiv for a second night, shockwaves are reverberating around the world, including here in Sydney. Today, the local Ukrainian community marched through the city, anxious for family members back home.
A sister in Sydney, her brother on the front line.
I'm so sad. I'm very sad.
Natalia Harrington's mother has also come under attack.
Last night I heard my mum crying, trying to run into the bunkers. And it has been so hard ever since.
The Ukrainian community in Australia is 40,000 strong. Today, they rallied the troops.
We are incredibly angry that Ukrainians are dying in Ukraine.
In a plea to Russian mothers, Tetiana Yanish says, please don't send your sons and fathers to kill ours. Undeterred by the rain, they marched from Martin Place to the Iron Lady, concerned by the outbreak of war. Fear for loved ones half a world away. And in the midst of it all, one Russian stood in solidarity.
I think that we have to do something and we need to speak.
But outside the Russian embassy, police were called as locals faced off.
Vladimir Putin is fighting the deep state.
Many here today grew up on stories of their parents and their grandparents' struggles as they fought for sovereignty and independence. They now fear that this hard work has been swept away.
Early Walsh, 9 News.